we'll watch the rant video first about South of Midnight, because honestly, I had not heard anything about this game other than what we saw a while ago about it. And I was worried it was gonna, like, it looked like it might have been okay. But let's see if it's gotten worse than we thought. So let's take a look and see what we got with this. The trailer looked okay, GBP. I don't know if I'd say it looked promising. I'd said it looked okay. And the music sounded cool. Like I liked it. I liked the southern style music they had in it. But let's just see how bad it got.
Hey, what's up, guys? Riff here. So today we're going to be talking about the latest Sweet Baby Inc. disaster, South of Midnight. This is a game that, much like AC Shadows, has produced a lot of likes and support on places like Twitter, with viral posts claiming this game would own the chuds and show all of those bigoted right-wing gamers wrong when it goes out there and succeeds.
Yeah.
But again, much
First
like
mistake.
AC Shadows, likes on Twitter do not translate to sales. And this game is flopping hard
sure don't.
right out of the gate, but the signs were always there. Now, sadly enough, the game on its face has a pretty interesting concept, a gothic, deep south origin root here, with some, pretty interesting folklore at hand here, but as you started to peel back...
And that is one of the things I said when we first saw this. I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. The graphical choices are kind of interesting. You're doing some southern bayou lore, which is kind of cool. I mean, outside of Princess and the Frog, we really didn't delve, we haven't had really many games delving into, Louisiana or bayou folklore. So there was some potential there. So let's see how they fucked it up.
Back the layers and look deeper into this game, and in particular who's making it. It seems pretty obvious there was an agenda here and a very big push for the modern audience. So right off the bat, we're talking about Compulsion Games. This is the developer of South of Midnight, and they are someone who is very trigger happy with the block button on Twitter. They will block pretty much anyone who criticizes them. It's not a very good look.
Chat, you seeing what I'm seeing as a red flag? I can't remember if we noticed this last time. We seeing something here that is a red flag right off the bat? Eh? Based out of Montreal, which is where SBI is based out of. SBI is also based out of Montreal. Big red flag right away, because let's face it, good things are not really coming out of Montreal these days in the gaming industry. Montreal, like, gaming companies need to GTFO of Montreal and go somewhere else. Because every gaming company operating out of Montreal right now is bombing so fucking hard.
Look, just like this tweet was not a very good look a year ago when they came to the defense of Crystal Dynamics, who in their remake of Tomb Raider 1 through 3, or should I say remaster, they had these warning labels talking about how there's all these offensive depictions that are no longer aligning with their values. And then Compulsion Games came to their defense and said, many video games are the product of the times they were created, and as we look to recreate and remaster these stories for modern audiences, they literally said the phrase, it's important to consider...
Chat, they said the thing! They said the thing, chat! And, okay, I'll let Rev read the next line, but I'm going to talk about the implications.
Consider the implications of these harmful portrayals and do our part to rewrite new history, not repeat it.
That, right there. They literally have said they want to rewrite history. They flat out said it. That is fucking dangerous. Now, we aren't just talking about a video game company here. So a lot of people are probably just gonna go, oh, it's just a fucking video game company. Who cares if they say something like that? This is the mind, you're getting a glimpse into the mind's eye of these kind of people that literally want to rewrite history. Not say, like, okay, learn and improve from history, but flat out rewrite history. And yes, saying rewrite new history it's gobbledygook. Okay, saying rewrite new history this is them trying to very, very poorly obfuscate that they want to rewrite history, that they want to try and make history disappear so everybody forgets about it. And in the context of this tweet was in regard to Crystal Dynamics redoing Tomb Raider, which everybody got pissed off about because everybody loved the original Tomb Raiders. And Crystal Dynamics basically tried to unsexify Lara Croft. So Compulsion Games was applauding them, saying, we need to rewrite history because we know better. So we want everyone to forget the original Tomb Raider because it offends our delicate sensibilities. Big booby women that are sexy and powerful. Heavens to Betsy, we can't have this. And so they said the quiet part out loud. That they want to rewrite history. They want to try and socially engineer people. This is them flat out saying they are pro social engineering to forward their goals and their purposes. That's flat out. Why would anyone, especially if this tweet is well known, why would anyone trust this company after saying something like this? Why would anyone trust this company not to try and obfuscate or rewrite Bayou history? Garrett, even if they said, oh, we're trying to basically, inject Bayou mythology.
It was terrible.
And we're trying to bring Bayou history to the forefront for people to recognize it. Well, with this very statement, everybody's going to go, how do we know this is actually Bayou mythology? Grindhouse, stay on topic, please. But how are we to trust that anything they present is accurate or even partially accurate history when it comes to, Bayou mythology or Louisiana mythology or Creole mythology or voodoo mythology, when they've actively said, we want to rewrite history? How can we trust it? Simple answer, we can't. So they've said the quiet part out loud, and this is just one reason why they're getting blasted with their new game.
Absolutely amazing mask-off moment back then, but the big thing that's affecting the PR of this game is, of course, their connection to Sweet Baby, one that is not hidden, by the way. Despite the fact that Sweet Baby has buried pretty much all of their connections to various projects and studios over time, South of Midnight has always been front and center. In fact, it's still listed on their website as one of their featured
French colonists that ran from the Brits to the swamps. I believe, okay, so Potato with Creole? Yes, I do believe, if I'm remembering my history correctly, in reference to the Creole, yes, I do believe so. But there is also Haitian immigrants that I believe it's Haitian, if I'm remembering correctly, that also immigrated into, that found their way to, like the Louisiana area, the bayou, and that's kind of where we get voodoo from. It's from those Haitian immigrants, Haitian and Caribbean. Yes, thank you, Victor. So it's not just one particular group of people that immigrated or fled to or arrived in the Louisiana and Louisiana bayou area that make up the bayou mythology. So it is a bit of a conglomeration of peoples.
Projects, they are very proud of their role in this game, which pretty much absorbed their entire studio. Pretty much the whole studio at Sweet Baby helped work on this game, and they did things like story development, script writing, cultural and character consultation. Oh boy, that sounds
God.
great! And boy, did that show itself with the character.
Wait. They had a bunch of Montrealers, which are the red-headed stepchildren of basically the French derivative cultures. So they had a bunch of Montrealers dictate how Creole and Cajun demographics, culture, and mythology works. Am I understanding this correctly? Am I understanding that correctly? Montrealers tried to dictate Creole and Cajun culture. Yeah, this sounds about right for a Montreal DEI company. This sounds about exactly right for them.
Designs, very modern audience, androgynous, muscular, sharp chins. I mean, this is just your typical modern audience character design. This is another red flag that people were seeing.
Okay, I am gonna do a gimme here. The graphics and the graphic and the design of these characters, I actually don't have that much of a problem with. There is some very obvious Telltale Games inspiration for the art style. For individuals that live in the bayou, you have to be strong. You do develop a physical toughness when you live in the bayou. And like I said, as far as the graphics go, there's some clear Telltale Games inspiration. There is. So I'm Rev is, kind of taking a dig at him. I personally don't see any issue with the art style, the character design. Yeah, she's got maybe a bit more muscle tone in her arms than might be believable. But again, it's this art style. I don't think they're, masculinizing, if that's a word, her. Okay, so the main character's a track star, so she will be physically fit. I don't have any problem with Sarsa, and I said so when we saw the trailer. Like, the art style is not putting me off. I'm not seeing the DEI-ness in this art style or the characterizations. I think it's fine. I do think that this is all of this right here. I don't see an issue with this, honestly.
And the other red flag, of course, is that journalists love it. Even IGN
okay, that's a red flag.
8s on South of Midnight, which should have been a warning sign. For example,
yeah, and that's what I'm figuring,
they gave
Victor.
Black Myth
I'm figuring it's the dialogue in the story.
8s. So their rating system is completely busted. And whenever they're giving high praise to a game like this that is being criticized for potentially leaning into the modern audience, that should be a red flag. And then if you look at the reviews generally, the Metascore is a 77, which is a pretty respectable score. And you also have multiple
I expect so.
reviewers giving 100s to this game. A perfect score. Complete.
Yeah, never believe a perfect score. Ever. Never believe a perfect score.
Completely glazing up this game. I mean, I'm
Really,
gonna take
Mike?
like
Well, we'll
30
find
seconds
out.
to get on my
We'll see
soapbox
if we
here,
get
but like,
something.
am I the only one who's this neurotic? Like, I feel like 100s and perfect scores should be given away very, very lightly. Like, it should be at least a game of the year contender, if not.
No, no.
Sniff, sniff. I smell a review bomb incoming.
Maybe. Dragon? Actually, I'm going to disagree. Because I don't think a lot of people actually know that this game even exists. That's the key thing. Review bombing only works when people actually know the game even exists. This game, hardly anybody even knows about. I didn't even know it launched. I had no fucking idea that this game even launched. So if nobody knows about it, there's no one's gonna bomb it because nobody even knows about it. You know? Now, what Rev said, I think he tripped over his own words there. He said, like, 100 should be given out very lightly. I think Rev meant to say that 100-point review scores should not be given lightly. So I think Rev might have tripped over himself when he said that. It's fine. I do it I trip over myself trying to say something all the fucking time. But I do agree. Like, all scores of 100, those are scores, like, a game should not receive a score of 100 unless it is, like, out fucking standing. Like Reb was saying, it's game of the year kind of stuff, or it's even a score that should only be handed out once every several years when a game truly it excels in everything it does. Yeah, I don't know if I'd say once a decade, Josh. Like maybe once every 5 years. I think that would be fair. Like, once by decade. But definitely, like they these game journals, they hand out scores of 100 like fucking candy, and that's why no one believes them anymore.
Not even better than that. If you're going to give it a perfect score, right? I don't think South of Midnight is a perfect game. But anyways, that's just me being neurotic. And then the final red flag
There we go.
on this game before its official release was the early numbers for people who had early access. And during the 5 days or so before the official release with early access, the numbers for this game on SteamDB fluctuated between about 100 to 400 players. That is really bad, especially when the early access only cost you an extra $10, $50 total instead of $40 for the regular release. But yeah, the writing was kind of on the wall.
That's
and then you see the day of, on the 8th, yesterday, Compulsion Games coming out, announcing this game is now going global. It's the full release, and you can see the
Well, you can't even call it Concord numbers because that's kind of a false equivalency. Concord was heavily promoted. South of Midnight, there was next to no promotion for it. Like I said, I didn't even realize that it launched. So it's not a fair comparison. Like comparing it to Concord is not a fair comparison for that specific reason. Yeah, it was on no one's radar. Nobody knew it was coming out. Yeah, and right now there's 1,000 players on Steam, and it only just launched today. So, this one, it's 1,000 players is realistically, for a small game, isn't bad. And like at launch, we'll see. Maybe we'll check it tomorrow and see how it did for the day.
Very large confidence they have locking the replies after they got dunked on by many different users for many different reasons. And now here we are on day 2 of this major AA release, and it's sitting under 1,000 in-game players. This is an
So this is considered a major AA release?
You can see the chart down here.
Huh.
You can see the early access. And then this was the official release, peaking out at about 1,400 players, going back down to about 400 overnight, and now it's seemingly crawling its way back. I would imagine it's going to reach the same peak as yesterday or something similar to that. But overall, for a game...
Okay. That's a hell of a drop off on day one. Like it hit its peak of 1400 and then lost 1,000 players. That isn't great for launch day. It is taking back up, but games are gonna have peaks and valleys. But for day one launch, that's a hell of a valley to have on day one launch.
Like this is a colossal disappointment. There's no way to spin this in a positive way. This is a game backed by Microsoft. It is a AA release that clearly had a very...
Well, hang on. Let's see. To be honest, for once the game is not bad, despite the developers being who they are. They haven't been obnoxious with the DEI. The art style is pretty. The music has a couple of weird instances, but it's generally good too. It also plays well for a game of its genre. The combat is a bit too simple, to be honest. The story was interesting and original. I'd say it's a 7.5. If you like the genre, it would be worth buying for 20 to 30 bucks. Okay. Andrino? Okay. That's kind of the feeling that when we saw the trailer for it, that's kind of the feeling that I got, is that it looked like from the trailer it could be a decent game. The story looked like it could be interesting. I'm suspecting, based on what Rev is saying right now, that this game is suffering primarily from a lack of advertisement. I don't think anybody knows this game even exists, and I think that may be the biggest stumbling block for that. Now that Rev has put out a video about it, who knows, more people may check out the game. Because people may not even been aware that this game came out in the first place.
Very large budget, and it's barely pulling Concord numbers. Now, I hear a lot of people who are defending this game. They're going to say, but Game Pass, there's going to be so many people using Game Pass. If people already had Game Pass and they're using that to play South of Midnight, that doesn't really do any favors for the developers of this game.
Hey.
They would have to buy Game Pass just to play South of Midnight, or at least that was their initial intention of purchasing Game Pass. Do you honestly think anyone's doing that?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, there's absolutely no way anybody is doing that. These numbers are incredibly disappointing for
Okay, American, with Lethal Company and Schedule 1, those spread by word of mouth. Those had and there is some luck in that. With Lethal Company, Schedule 1, Repo, these are all indie developed games. And word of mouth is what caused them to jump in popularity. And there is a luck factor involved with this. You know, people that played Lethal Company and Schedule 1, they got their friends to play and they liked it, so their friends maybe told their friends, and it was able to spread by word of mouth and became a huge, like, it went viral essentially. And it's possible we may see this with South to Midnight. Again, it had next to no advertising, so nobody knew it was coming out. Now that word is getting out about it, it may tick up. It may do well. People may go, hey, let me check this out. It's not too poor. It's not too badly priced. It's probably, the price tag is still a little bit high at $40. But not like what we're seeing with the AAA titles, and people may start, checking it out. Yeah, American, that's kind of how I'm thinking. At this point, time is going to be, we need to let time do its thing.
This game was supposed to be, and of course, you have to ask yourself, what the hell went wrong here? Well, I think overall from the reaction of gamers, they're just not very impressed. This game had an interesting concept, but it wasn't well executed. And a lot of people are pointing to the fact that the script writing is really, really bad and boring, which is a pretty bad sign. Bad and boring is not a good combo when it comes to a story. But on top of that, we look at some of the things going on with this game and we think how much effort and money was put into this game that, as it turns out, can be played through in about 7 hours. Are people really willing to spend $40 on a game they can complete in 7 hours? One that also sounds like it's not very enjoyable.
Yeah, that's not good. A 7-hour completion time for $40. That's not good. That will definitely give more than a few people pause of, are they going to want to spend $40 of their hard-earned money to play a game for 7 hours and never play it again? Yeah, it explains the retention time, and it might also explain, the low player count. Yeah, that is definitely not good.
That's a very tall ask. And you ask yourself, well, if the game's boring, what happened? Well, unfortunately, the people who are responsible for a lot of the things wrong with this game are also the ones who are driving the most negative PR for this game over the past year. And the most obvious place to start with that is Sweet Baby. You can see the end credits now. You have pretty much the majority of the Sweet Baby team listed here, including Kim Belair.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Chat, somehow Kim Belair has returned. Fuck. Yeah, they are. Well, Victor, that's the thing. It's a justifiable response based on what SBI has done for the last umpteen years. And look at, they actually had a major hand in the script. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 script writers from SBI. One of them being Kim Belair. Ouch.
Development and script writing. And you can see basically the whole thing is focusing on narrative consultation, script writing, and story development. And boy, did it really pay off in a very fruitful way for this game. As you can see pointed out here, South of Midnight is a horrendously written game where the black female protagonist gets her powers from, checks notes, picking cotton.
No!
Oh, jeez.
No way! God.
But they can't call it cotton because of optics, so they call it floofy. Well, they saved themselves there, don't worry, guys. It also has...
Oh my god! They seriously have a black girl getting powers by picking cotton. Okay, now, Az is a bit extreme in his viewpoints, but if this is an actual gameplay mechanic, which this is not something that he can, embellish on. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna claim DEI and your main character is a black girl that gets power from picking cotton, as a company, you don't get to call anybody racist. You don't. Because leave us not forget,
the way I judge a game, besides how good the gameplay and story are, is replayability. If I can be entertained playing a game for as many hours as dollars spent, it was a good game.
Yeah, but what was I gonna say? It's oh yeah, leave us not forget, chat, that this is the same company talking about rewriting new history. That they're, let's not forget about that. So these are the same people, while they will read and scream about racism, they're going to have their character performing an act that is tantamount is basically ascribed to the racism of old in the South. Yeah, well, one thing that I was going to say in regards to this, there could be some context to this game mechanic that we are unaware of. Like, is there a reason why she has to do this in order to gain powers? Is this something like reaching into the past to gain power from her ancestors? Granted, if that was the case, why would they call it Floofy instead of Cotton? Why? They're still... I don't think it's gonna help, but you know me, I like to have context to things. It's just they could have had her getting her powers from something voodoo related, which would fit with Bayou and Cajun culture. Seriously. And how many people do you think are gonna start using this ironically whenever they refer to Cotton nowadays?
Blight assets from Dragon Age, the Veilguard in it too, not that BioWare need them anymore. The main character is an entitled brat that cares only for herself. Sweet Baby Inc., do it again.
Right, now this last part, that the main character is an entitled brat, that's one that I would need evidence to. I would need evidence that the main character is an entitled brat that only cares about herself. A lot of people like to say that. I would like to see some context to that statement.
And this part is pretty much every modern audience game right here, right? The main character being an entitled brat that only cares about herself. Many such cases. But as you can see, the unintentionally ridiculous concept up here that Sweet Baby, I guess, was sensitive enough to know would be a very bad look, so they changed Cotton to Floofy, which again doesn't really say from the jokes that are writing themselves here. Now also notice that on that list of credits you also had Chris Kindred, who ironically enough was the figurehead who started this entire massive wave against Sweet Baby.
Yeah.
Of course, some people were talking about Sweet Baby before February of last year, but this is the tweet that really sent everything into orbit, where he tried to encourage his followers to harass and falsely report.
Eric, they were able to get in on the ground floor when all of this DEI stuff was at its peak. They basically created this consulting company, and I'm not even sure when this consulting company was created, but back during the 2016 through 2020 time period, the industry was ripe for the picking for a company that was all about the DEI, because that is when that sort of mentality hit the fever pitch, and they've been riding the wave ever since. So that's how someone can make one of these yeah, I know. So that's how someone could make one of these consulting companies out of thin air and get so much business, because they did it at the perfect time. Gameplay video. The floof are a glowing object in the shape of a cotton piece that is freshly picked from the plant. The symbol is also just a pick of an unwashed, unseparated cotton piece. Fantastic. Yeah, so 2018. So yeah, America right at that height of when we were, that was right at the height of the extreme swinging in both directions. That's how they were able to get in on the ground floor of this.
A Steam group called Sweet Baby Inc. detected that simply
Victor, these are old tweets
that they're listing on their own public website as their projects. And of course, we wanted to also report the personal account of Cabrutus, the individual who was the creator of the Steam group. And this sort of narrative is always left out of every report by the usual suspects in games journalism. And also keep in mind, a couple months ago, Rolling Stone made a fluff piece trying to not only prop up this game, but also chastise all of those evil gamers who dared to criticize this game. And of course,
for God's
who do
sake.
you think wrote this article? Kotaku's former editor, Alyssa Mercante, because, of course. Now, looking...
Wait, Rolling Stone hired Alyssa Mercante? Fucking hell. These people are like cockroaches. You cannot get rid of them. Oh my god. And of course, the same her subheading, the specter of hate, the same black representation that brings so much joy to the team has brought undue scrutiny levied by a reactionary corner of the internet that still believes Sweet Baby Inc. is forcing wokeness in the video games. Again, I will point out, no one even fucking knew this game existed. She's writing all this, and no one even knew this existed. Yeah, maybe there were a few tweets or Reddit posts that were saying something about it, but largely speaking, no one even knew it existed. So she's actually trying to gaslight people into thinking there's a whole ton of hate for this game, when most people are going, what the hell is South to Midnight? So Alyssa Mercante is actually, like, that, she's flat out gaslighting here.
At this article, they try to spin a narrative that it's all these right-wing gamers and bigots who hate this game, and this game's gonna just do so well, and yada yada yada. Now, before we read this section, I want to point out one thing that I just noticed
Dwayne,
as
that's
I was
like
prepping
rule one.
for this video. In her own writing here, you can see she capitalizes black, right here with black representation, capitalizes the B. But down here, with whites, she does not capitalize whites. Now, this is crazy. This is like advanced racism at this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Alyssa Mercante, your racism is showing. Alyssa Mercante is another, internet white savior. That's who she is. Because for those of you who are not familiar with Alyssa Mercante, and yes, I am deliberately mispronouncing her name, she herself is a white woman, and I'm pretty sure she's lesbian, which is neither here nor there. So she herself is white, but she is constantly, like, riding on the charger to champion non-white and non-straight rights, supposedly. She is flat out white knighting, and she has been for years. And so she's basically doing subtle racism. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's 100% a woke white knight, because she's doing what she believes is subtle racism by capitalizing the B in black and lowercasing the white in the W in white.
At this point, I don't even know how they come up with this stuff, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I think that is very weird. But anyways, this is what she had to say. The specter of
I have no doubt,
but the same
Grindhouse,
black representation that brings so much joy to the team has brought undue scrutiny levied by reactionary corners of the internet that still believes one consultancy company, Sweet Baby Inc., is forcing wokeness into video games, which we know, based on Kim Belair's own words, that, yeah, that's what they're trying to do, trying to scare people into pushing this stuff into their company. But they continue on saying that rumor began swirling in March of this year.
I've been saying that. I've been saying that for a while now. That not simply just the people pushing this, but the adamant and vehement defenders of everything DEI are white. And that's why I call them, that's why I say they all have the white savior complex. They are terminally online, and they have the terminally online white savior complex. The problem is, they're racists. They act like, oh, we are the champions for the underprivileged or for the minorities. Except they're blatantly fucking racist and refuse to admit it. Alyssa Mercante
Some people
is
with their brains.
Alyssa Mercante is the exact definition of this. She has flat out said that you cannot be racist to white people, which is not only a completely brain dead statement, it is also a factually wrong statement. Okay? Racism does not have an exclusionary clause. There is no exclusion clause in the definition of racism. It is literally, disparaging, or I can't remember the exact dictionary definition to it, but it's basically disparaging a group of people based strictly upon their race or ethnicity. White people are included in that, despite what people like Alyssa Mercante think. And that's why I will call them racists every fucking time.
And is still a rallying cry amongst right-wing gaming influencers on X, formerly Twitter, Reddit, and the darker and even more hateful corners of the internet.
Shut up, Alyssa.
Based on my deduction here, are they saying this is YouTube? Because they don't even mention YouTube, but anyways, I'm just nitpicking here. They continue on. Not long after South of Midnight gameplay was revealed during the Xbox showcase at Summer Game Fest this year, Compulsion Games was targeted by the modern version of Gamergate, who insisted that hate...
Which doesn't exist. Does not exist. There is no modern version of Gamergate. It flat out does not exist. People that try to make a claim that there was a Gamergate 2.0 are gaslighting. It flat out does not fucking exist. What they are classifying as Gamergate is people in the gaming community saying, your games suck, your stories suck, you're attacking the gamers for not liking your game for perfectly legitimate reasons. That's what they are classifying as Gamergate, because they're trying to legitimize their hatred. Because that's what these people are. That's what these people are spreading. These journalists, these game companies, these game devs, they are spreading hate. And they're using the auspice of Gamergate to do so as a way to try and legitimize that. Because let's face it, Gamergate 1.0 was a bunch of bullshit too. Gamergate 1.0 was basically a couple of, I don't know a whole hell of a lot about Gamergate 1.0 because I never really cared or looked into it. I was not part of, the gaming sphere when Gamergate happened. As I understand it, Gamergate 1 was basically, some, female gamers that didn't like the trash talk that gets thrown around literally fucking everywhere. That, to my understanding, that is what happened with Gamergate 1. Gamergate 2 is literally nothing. Gamergate 2 is a fiction of the DEI imagination to try and justify then attacking gamers. They're paying customers. That's what they're using this new incarnation of Gamergate to do. They're using it to justify verbally attacking their paying customers and then crying racism when their paying customers say, cool, you want to call me a racist with no evidence just because I have a legitimate criticism of your game? I will take my money elsewhere. And they respond with, well, then you must be a racist. Or an other istophobiast. It's nothing but an excuse. It's just like everything in terms of language. This means nothing anymore. It means absolutely nothing. Not that it meant much in the first place, but now its level of power and authority is less than nothing.
Hazel was race swapped from a previous white character in that the shadowy consultancy company had its evil DEI, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and has become the ethics in
really
gaming journalism shorthand of today, fingers around Compulsion's throat, as is tradition with this kind of hate movement. The studio was inundated with emails, and their community manager was ceaselessly harassed, both online and off. Wow, that poor community manager. They did nothing wrong. Why would anyone go after this person and criticize?
I've heard nothing about this community manager being harassed. Absolutely nothing. I have not heard fuck all. Other than that one tweet we saw earlier in this video, I have heard fuck all from this gaming company or about this game. So, Alyssa, if you want to claim that the community manager was harassed, show me receipts. Show me proof, or fuck off. Because I don't believe a fucking word you say. You have proven yourself to be a liar and a pussy when confronted. The moment you get confronted, you tuck your tail between your legs and go hide in a corner like a little bitch. So don't think I take anything you say at face value. Ever.
Them. Oh, it's because this individual right here, Katie Chu, this...
No, Raven, Raven, that's the whole point. No, she won't. Fucking, what was her name? Vera of the Dark, who is not like a physically fit individual to the best of my knowledge. She's just a YouTuber, a YouTube commentator. When Alyssa Mercante put out her open challenge that she will fight anyone physically that disagrees with her, Vera of the Dark said, cool, game on, we ball. And what did Alyssa do? Back down real fucking quick with a whole bunch of bullshit excuses. And yeah, I know. We're not even gonna get into Katie Chu with every fucking flag under the sun and every fucking pronoun, sexuality, everything possible. By the way, she's bi and pansexual, so Katie Chu, you literally fuck anything that moves. And maybe even things that don't move. Good to know. I'm gonna stay far the fuck away from you.
Community manager at Compulsion Games. They have a lot to say about white people and gamers. They said,
oh, God.
White male gamers were a mistake. Oh, geez, and blame them for basically causing all these issues in the gaming spaces. They also say that Asian people are white adjacent. Again, like advanced levels of racism that. I didn't even know was possible. And then you have this classic quote, honestly, I hate gamers. Says,
then get the fuck out of the industry. Seriously, everything this person... I don't know how the fuck she could step on so many rakes and not figure it out. This woman literally cannot take a single step without hitting herself in the face with a rake. Like, I'm sorry, you would have to be a special kind of stupid to keep doing that.
As the community manager at a game development company. It's just chef's kiss. It's just perfect. But don't worry, guys. When she was getting criticized for this stuff, it was actually just unwarranted harassment when someone is openly trying to basically say a certain group of people are not welcome based on the color of their skin, their gender, and also just for being a gamer. Who would have thought that would get some blowback? But of course, that flies in the face of this 30-minute fluff piece that was made to celebrate South of Midnight a few months ago. Let's listen to the first part of this documentary.
In many ways, Midnight is about bringing people together, and magic is all around you. It's about learning empathy for people who aren't like you. It's finding hidden strengths.
Yeah, it's all about empathy and inclusion.
Okay.
Unless, of course, you're a white male gamer, then it's not for you, apparently. But all of these things start to make a little more sense when you see videos like this. So this is actually the first time I've seen this. This user, Bandar Hub here, posted this yesterday, showing one of the writers on the staff for South of Midnight and their approach to writing and how they visualize themselves in the story, and how white people can't tell a story about diversity as well as someone who has a different skin color.
Before Rev jumps into this, I'm going to point out something. Now, this is not gaming, strictly speaking. This was Hollywood. We saw the story. We saw the news story about how an entire, we saw 2 examples of teams of, I think it was all black writers that couldn't do the job. They were failing hard. And so the studio brought in an experienced white male and female. It was two different projects we're referencing here. Brought in an older, experienced white male and female script writers to fix their shit. But people are tired of white people talking about diversity and equity and inclusion. But you're gonna go running to them every fucking time because the DEI hires you put into place can't do their fucking job. Yeah, and not even in the credits. Yup. Correct, Tybo. Now, in one case with the guy that got brought in, he did not want his name in the credits. He was perfectly fine with not wanting his name in the credits. But for the other project, when they brought the older white woman in, they refused to allow her to go on stage with the all-black team to accept an award for great script. It was like an award-winning production. And she was not allowed to go on stage with the all-black writing staff to accept the award because it would not look good for a older white woman to be on stage with the collective of young black professionals accepting this reward. Again, this is Hollywood, not the gaming industry, but I'm sorry, it's a sideways shift. It's the same fucking thing.
Let's listen to this.
Saying I would definitely like to see more queer characters of color, not just, just a white queer character. I would like to see more people that look like me. I think audiences have a very...
It's not good enough, right? It's not good enough that they have a
never
queer
will
character. It also has to have dark skin. It's just never good enough. You see how it just keeps getting pushed further and further and further.
Very vocal minority of people who are very much against inclusion.
No, fucking no. I'm sorry. In this modern day, I have a problem with continuing to refer to non-white people as minorities. Okay? Yes, there may be, in terms of population numbers, there may be a larger population numbers for white people. I am not disputing that fact. But this is the modern day. Minority is referring to a ethnic class that basically has fewer rights than the majority class. It's changing everywhere, Slaghead. It's not just the US. This is changing fucking everywhere, except for maybe Asianic countries. It's basically in the West, it's changing. Yeah. Calling basically black people a minority
I feel
is
so
not
ashamed to be part
fair.
black. Seeing how dumb they are talking and acting. So damn foolish, and it hurts, dude.
I know. But in this modern day, calling a black person or calling an East Indian person a minority is actually taking away from that ethnic group's agency. You're saying that black people, East Indian people, even some Asiatic people, South American individuals, you're removing their agency and saying it's almost kind of like you're trying to insinuate that they have fewer rights than white people, which is factually incorrect. And again, the word minority is losing its meaning. When someone uses the word minority in a point such as this one, it means nothing. It means that the next thing that's going to come out of this person's mouth is a bunch of gobbledygook bullshit that is just pure drivel and means nothing.
Inclusion of anything that's not, as we said, like a cis straight white man. But
because of course
existences aren't political, they just are. And I think that more and more people are expecting to see that kind of representation, and also expecting it to get broader as time goes on.
Well, I think what people are expecting is good characters. I think that will connect with people more than anything. I mean, a great example of all this stuff is Assassin's Creed, right? With the Yasuke blowback. People are saying, oh, all these AC fans are...
Again. Oh, Durahan, I fucking hate that word too. Like, in my opinion, if someone uses the word cis or the abbreviation of cis, that's a slur. If someone refers to any person or group of people as cis, you have just used a racial slur, in my opinion. Okay, that's how I take it. The moment the word cis comes out of your mouth, I will tell you to shut the fuck up. Don't you dare use a slur at me. Don't you dare call me a slur. Oh, I appreciate that, Grumple. I fully appreciate that that's of where it originated from, but that's not how it's being used. It's being used as a slur. And that's how I'm going to take it every fucking time. And I will call you the fuck out on it and tell you to shut. If someone wants to refer to me as cis, I will tell them to kindly shut the fuck up. You just lost the discussion and walk away. Because that's how it is. And the other point that I'm going to make what this idiot just said is, while you're so focused on injecting black and specifically black LGBT characters into games, gamers don't fucking care. They don't care. Gamers do not care if a character is black, Mexican, East Indian, Native American, East Islander, South American, none of it. They don't care if they're LGBT. They also don't give a fuck about that. If that is secondary to the character and the story. This person cares more about injecting political or personal ideology instead of writing the story. If you wrote a good story and the gender, ethnicity, and sexuality of the character was secondary, people would not fucking care. They wouldn't. But that's not good enough for them, because they have to just cram this ideological shit down people's throats and then ask, why don't you like this?
Racist. They don't want to see a minority as a protagonist in an Assassin's Creed game, that's just not true. People want to see a organic and strongly developed character.
Yeah,
There's been
Hybo
tons
Jack.
of diversity
Yes,
throughout
perfect
the
example.
Assassin's Creed franchise, and people never complained about it because the characters felt natural. They didn't feel forced in the environment just to check diversity boxes, and they were well written. So that's what people want. People relate to good characters. And if you have to relate to something just because of skin color, if that's the determining factor, I think that's ridiculous.
As opposed to just having that same, like, you know, white gay guy archetype, or like Ellie in The Last of Us, we're looking for people who, you know, non-binary, intersex.
Okay, first and foremost, number one, sweetheart, you're a racist. You're a fucking racist. That's number one. This dumb bitch is a racist. Zeri Lanier is a racist cunt. Those examples she just gave, two white people. White gay guy and Ellie from Last of Us. Both of them are white. Yes, Ellie was gay. Which is fine. She just showcased that she's racist. Right there. And now she's going into, oh, we also need non-binary and intersex. It's like, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself with this. What you need are good storytellers, which you don't have. Yeah, like, again, here's the crazy thing about this. Actually, I'm gonna let this play through. I will comment. I will say what I was about to say at the end.
Trans who aren't just white, they look like me and you. And I think that games are starting to delve into that more, but I think it also needs to be intentional and not an afterthought. It can't, like, if you're writing, like Tori said, it has to be from the beginning. The team should be from that community, not like, oh, we're you know, we're.
By the way, I'm just gonna point out this little tidbit. The human brain and the imagination that comes from human beings has no ethnicity. The brain and imagination, at best, is gray matter. It doesn't have skin color. In everyone. Skin color should not make a fucking bit of difference when it comes to writing a story. It means absolutely fucking nothing.
Wherever in our process, we should probably bring on like a consultant who we may or may not listen to. It should, from the beginning, it should be a priority. And I think audiences are hungry for that kind of thoughtfulness.
Man, that sounds a lot
No, they're
like
hungry
Kim
for good
Belair,
stories.
right? Like the quote we discussed earlier. You know, bring them into the room, give them a coffee, and scare them into basically accepting whatever your goal is. That's what that sounds like, right from the beginning. In fact, like, don't even bring them in during the middle of the process. Bring in these consultancy people right from the beginning and start laying out these characters to start checking the boxes.
And I think queer people of color are able to write, like, within their own identity, white characters of that same identity, but I don't think that white.
Wait, let me hear that again.
Queer people of color are able to write, like, within their own identity, white characters of that same identity, but I don't think.
Fucking racist! That is 100% fucking racist. Right fucking there. White people can't write characters that are non-white. But black people absolutely can write characters that are white. Sarah Lanier is a fucking racist. She is a fucking racist, and everything she said means absolutely nothing because she is a goddamn racist. She basically just exposed herself. Blatantly exposed herself. We already knew this. I already called this way back. But she just blatantly exposed herself as a racist.
That white creators can, on their own, cross that boundary to write a queer person of color because as people of color, we have to exist within the framework of America's just like
Sweetheart,
capitalistic,
shut up. You're a
colonialistic
racist. You've established
framework.
that. Don't
Like
try and
our
backpedal
that's
and eat
whiteness
shit
is
like
the
this.
standard, and so like I understand your like culture, but like come to a barbecue at my church or at my house or something and tell me like
Fuck you.
how well you can navigate
Fuck
that.
you.
And
I'm not
I
going
bet it's
anywhere
not
near where you are.
nearly as simple for you because you're not used to having to put on that kind of thing. And I think, and I agree with CC.
Fuck you, racist.
Yeah, so basically they're just straight up saying that white people can't write diverse characters as well as certain minorities might be able to. A very, very strange thing to say.
And again, I'm going to point out the Hollywood examples of an all-black team could not write a movie about black people. Well, they had to call in the old white guy to fix it. I'm just going to point that out again. At least 2 instances where the black team could not write a story about black people, and they had to call in the older white people to fix the problem. Kendrick, we don't know what movies. It was not disclosed what movies. We don't know the people who came in. I think they spoke on condition of anonymity because they want to keep working. But the black people called in the older white people to fix their shit. I don't think she said that they couldn't handle a black barbecue. That she's saying like, oh, why don't you come to a black barbecue to immerse yourself in culture or some bullshit like that. I don't know. I don't fucking care. She's fucking word vomiting. Everything she said means nothing.
And the barbecue comparison is just pretty crazy. Just like, I don't know, I think people can fit in anywhere if they just act normal, right? If they're just like respectful, they can probably get along pretty decently. I just think that's a pretty crazy comparison.
Becky,
this whole
she's
thing has been
100%
blowing
racist.
up and people are
100%
talking a lot
racist.
about this clip. But let's return to Sweet Baby, okay? Things aren't going very well for them right now. There's a lot of rumors swirling about the company and potential losses for them. So you can see the headline, Sweet Baby Inc. reportedly dropped by Sony as gaming giant cancels several projects with SBI involvements. And this is based on a Master of the TDS video they released on their Gothic Therapy program there, where he has an insider who has provided reliable information before, and they're saying that there are some targeted, deliberate terminations of in-development projects that had Sweet Baby Inc. embedded in them. And that is basically finding out at this point. It's taken way too long. I hope this is true because at the end of the day, Sweet Baby's done a lot of things wrong, and they really haven't faced anything for it. I mean, they just keep getting work. So maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of something happening, you know, actual consequences for tanking.
Leave us not forget, Sony also caught a major black eye with Concord. And so it like this could just be more fallout from that.
Many games at this point, everything they touch, they got the Sweet Baby kiss of death, and it strikes again with South of Midnight. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.
Now, to my final point on this that I paused on talking about. The gaming industry needs to follow the exact same fucking advice that I've been desperately trying to get Hollywood to listen to, even though they're not going to listen to a silly little cat-girl streamer like me. Muzzle your fucking talent. It is that is going to go a long fucking way to fixing your problem. Literally, all of these games that are failing, you know what has caused a big chunk of the failure of these games? The fact that the developers are going on fucking Twitter or going on, talking to journalists and attacking their fan base, attacking their customers. If the studios would just fucking muzzle their goddamn talent, that would fix a lot of fucking problems. Honestly, it would fix a big chunk. It wouldn't fix all of them. But if you told your game devs to shut the fuck up, that would go a long way to starting to correct the problem. Keep your talent off of Twitter. Take them away from the journalists. Have your PR person talk to the journalists. And don't, because it's, again, just like with Hollywood, when these people talk to the journalists, when they tweet this insane bullshit, they are front-loading the game with their absolutely insane ideology. And yes, the games might still suck, but they'd get less negative attention, and people would be more inclined to perhaps give them a fair shot instead of going in with a preconceived notion of this is a DEI game right off the jump and not even give it a chance. Basically, the advice I give to Hollywood is the same fucking advice I'm going to give to the game developers and the game studios. Shut the fuck up, muzzle your talent, and let the games speak for themselves. It's honestly that fucking simple.